Wow, that was quite something. The 2026 Revolution Rumble is in the books. Dave Bradshaw here alongside RevPro owner and booker Andy Quildan. Andy, there's so much to talk about, but we are going to start, obviously, with the winner of the Rumble, a man who has now booked himself a guaranteed spot in the main event of our 14-year anniversary, August 29th at the OVO Arena, Wembley. His name is Connor Mills.
Absolutely. And what a moment it was when Connor Mills finally eliminated Michael Oku to become the winner of the 2026 Revolution Rumble. He entered in at number 11. It's the first time that someone with a number below the number 20 has entered the Revolution Rumble and won the contest. It was, obviously, when you look at the contest, there was many twists and turns and moments. It was chaotic. It was emotional. But ultimately, I think the people got the man they wanted to win that match, is judging by the reaction at the end. And Connor Mills will go on to the OVO Arena, Wembley, on Saturday, August 29th, to challenge for the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship, whomever that champion may be.
At the moment, of course, that champion is Jay Joshua, who successfully defended the championship against JJ Gale earlier in the night. Goes without saying, Connor Mills and Jay Joshua, tag team partners, winners of the Great British Tag League at anniversary weekend last year. So that, as it stands, is a very intriguing situation, possibly, as we head ever closer towards Wembley. But of course, there are many more twists and turns to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw there was many more twists and turns to come when we saw the result of that tag team championship match as well earlier tonight, where there were new undisputed British tag team champions in the Slater Dojo. And the Young Guns, obviously, they know they've still got that match with FTR, but as it stands, it will be a non-title match, and that's going to eat at the Young Guns in terms of their belief and their want and need to try and make this the biggest match in tag team independent wrestling history. So it's I guess I'm using that to illustrate the point that I always say this, don't I? There's a lot of wrestling to be done between now and then. So we're 3 months away now. Mm-hmm. Again, scary. And as it gets closer and closer, the picture becomes clearer and clearer. We'll find out who's going to challenge for the undisputed. I don't want to give away, so do you want to talk about the show and then we can? Well, because I feel like me saying all the stuff that can happen, I'm going to just give away the results of the show, and you're going to sit there and you're going to be sad because you're not going to say anything.
I'm going to not give any questions to ask. Right, so let's pause on the Young Guns, because I do want to spend some time on that. I think after 14 months as champions, they certainly deserve it. But let's focus on the Rumble for now. It is the case, though, as you said, the Slater Dojo winning those undisputed British tag team titles earlier in the night against the Young Guns. So it seemed as though it was a glorious, triumphant night for Liam Slater and Leon Slater until the final moment of the Revolution Rumble. Now, earlier in the match, Liam Slater had been prepared to sacrifice HMD for his own well-being. Then when we were down, in the later stages of the match, we were down to 6. So we were down to Liam and Leon and Cameron Kai from Slater Dojo. There was Michael Oku, there was Connor Mills, and there was Jay Joshua. A brawl ensued. There was Michael Oku taking on Cameron Kai against the ropes. Liam Slater, it seemed as though he was trying to force both of them over, kind of sacrificing Kai to eliminate Oku. That backfired because Oku held on and Kai was eliminated. And then moments after that, Liam Slater had to try and hold onto the arm of Leon Slater to keep himself in, ended up eliminating himself and Leon. So a bad couple of minutes, I think we can say, for Liam Slater.
Yes, a bad couple of minutes, bad end to the evening. But I think in hindsight, he could probably look back at the evening as an overall success. I think this is a problem with Liam Slater because he never tells anyone what the game plan is, because he never tells anyone what he's doing, and he just expects everyone to blindly go along for a ride. And because he's always so devious and cunning, and he's always got a plan, of course, Cameron Kai thought that was on purpose. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's going to raise question marks with Leon Slater, thinking, did he pull me off on purpose? But it looked very clear that he was just trying to hang on to Leon to keep himself in the Rumble match. But yeah, it raises a lot of questions, and it's almost like tonight it felt like the Slater Dojo perhaps overreached in terms of, they got a tag team championships. Would that be enough for their night? If it was, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But Liam's got this want for power, prestige, status, and that was his chosen route, I guess.
Yeah, and it does beg the question. I don't want to be, you're going to accuse me of stirring the pot, but there's all those critics of Liam Slater who say, well, the plan is always for the benefit of Liam Slater, not for the benefit of the Slater Dojo as a whole. And given the circumstances of all those eliminations, HMD, Cameron Kai, Leon Slater, those questions are going to keep on rising.
Well, that's you stirring the pot.
All right, well, let's move on from there. Let's talk about other highlights of the Rumble match itself. We knew going in there was bad blood between RKJ and Driller Maloney. Nothing settled there. There was a real battle between Subculture and True and Lacey. Just picking out some random moments here, but there's so many moments. What were the other standout moments in the match for you?
Yeah, it was great to see Kanji making history, being the first female entrant in the Rumble, and Rio quickly joining her. But then, obviously, Rio turned on Kanji. And as we said, like, Rio still remembers what happened in Cardiff at the conclusion of that match, where, you know, the match was over. She'd pinned Kanji, and then obviously Kanji raped back and got that armbar on Rio. But Kanji was saying that obviously it was the action of, you know, the kick out and coming back and saying it, you know, it's an innocent mistake. But Rio doesn't see it like that. And it's clear Rio doesn't see it like that. By the way, she didn't have Kanji's back tonight, eliminated her from the Rumble. And I'm interested to see how Kanji reacts to that, because it's almost this escalation. And I tell you, the person who's going to be most happy that this is going on is our undisputed British Women's Champion, Alexis Falcon.
Yeah, we'll talk about her in a minute as well, because every championship was defended tonight at the Doncaster Dome. Let's get into those matches. And we've already talked a little bit about Jay Joshua, his successful title defense against JJ Gale with the Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship. But from JJ Gale's perspective, let's just talk about that for a minute, because for all of the euphoria there for Jay Joshua, heartbreak for JJ Gale, whose entire career had been building for this moment, his first ever shot for the Undisputed British Heavyweight title. And as good as he was, just came up short.
Yeah, so look, JJ's been around for a long while, as we documented. He's someone he's always taken the toughest route. He's someone who's worked from the bottom all the way to the top. And you've got to think a setback like this will only spur him on further. There's a reason why they call him the heart and soul of Revolution Pro Wrestling. And I think that if JJ takes this defeat, this soul-crushing defeat as well, the way that he's taken setbacks in his career previously, then I think that there's nothing to worry about JJ Gale, and he will show exactly why he is the heart and the soul of Revolution Pro Wrestling. He will come back stronger than ever, would be my prediction. I'm not him. I haven't spoken to him since the match, but that would be my assumption. JJ Gale is a man who's just his experience through Revolution Pro Wrestling. He's experienced so many firsts, and I think about how JJ has learned from each of those occasions, how he's risen, like lifted the bar on each occasion. There's been times when you could have looked at, so for example, I know he had his match with Kosei Fujita 3 years ago at our anniversary show at the Copper Box. And he was disappointed with that match. How did he rebound? You know, that spectacular match with Luke Jacobs at you will call at Crystal Palace National Sports Centre. A match with Ishii. You know, like he's responded in the past. He's responded very, very well from setbacks, and when things haven't gone quite the way he would have expected and wanted, etc. And I feel like we are still all on this journey that JJ Gale has been a part of. I said it from day one, really. You know, I feel like I've got an eye for talent. I don't know, but like, I said it from day one with JJ Gale, that he's almost destined to be undisputed British heavyweight champion one day. He's a future superstar.
Sorry. I don't want to listen. I don't want to interrupt. Listen, Dave, could you?
Yeah.
How you doing? You alright?
Good. I'm alright.
Okay, good. If you could just please.
Okay.
I don't want to. I'm going to pitch something to you. I'm not even going to make you make a decision right here on the spot because that would be unfair. But think about this. Things have been a bit unfair for me, and I just want what's fair to occur. When I was in the Revolution Rumble, was it last year? 2 years ago, when I was the champion. I was the undisputed British heavyweight champion. I was eliminated by someone, and they got a championship match. All right. The undisputed British heavyweight champion, Jay Joshua, was in the Rumble, and I eliminated him. If we do what's fair, I just think that it could be something we can think about. I think the undisputed British heavyweight championship should be on the line. It should be me versus Jay Joshua. Again, he's never beaten me fair and square. It's always been with help. Even when he wasn't a champion, it's always been with no help. I need a fair one-on-one title match with Jay Joshua. I eliminated him. I think I'm owed it. You know me, I don't like to ask for things. I do my job to the best of my ability, and that's where I'm in the position I am. I just want to think about it. Don't even say anything. No, don't even say anything. I just want you to think about that. Dave, you can, sorry. I hate to, I know you guys you're probably like on a roll of stuff, but I just thought, before, just have a think about it and let me know kind of what works for you. Again, just remember what this is all about. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, do you want to address that?
I don't know what I can say. Like, I wanted to say you eliminated him with a steel chair, but I feel like it wouldn't be an appropriate time. I don't get myself in situations like you get into. And look, well, I think it's very tough. I'd like to sit down with Michael and ask him about his psyche right now. Ask him about, look, we were speaking about moments in the Rumble. What about what happened to the Bryants, Xander, and Nino Bryan?
Yeah,
there's a lot of questions. Like, there's a lot of questions, and like, and I want to make something clear as well. The undisputed British heavyweight championship will be defended between now and Wembley. It's not like it's we're just putting it on ice until that main event of the OVO Arena, Wembley. Who gets those shots? You always ask me questions, and I always say, look, we need to go home, reflect on what we just seen, and then we come. I don't like making decisions in the spur of a moment, because look what happened last time I made a decision in the spur of a moment. It resulted in the match with Oku and Mills.
Yeah, and which ultimately we hope would settle things and hasn't yet. Let's leave that there, because obviously it wasn't really fair, I don't think, for Michael to put you on the spot, and I'm not going to do the same thing. We were talking about JJ Gale and where he goes next. Let's talk about the Young Guns. As we know, they lost those undisputed British Tag Team Championships tonight. Two things then. First of all, your thoughts on that remarkable 14-month run as champions. And second of all, where do they go next? Obviously, they've still got the match with FTR coming up, but just even psychologically, if you're Luke Jacobs and Ethan Allen, where do you go next?
Again, I don't know. It's tough, isn't it? Because when you're on a run like the Young Guns have been on, and then you asked me to comment on their championship reign, and it's been a fantastic championship reign. They had some fantastic matches, and in that reign, they've looked almost unstoppable. And when you have that air unstoppability about you, when you take a knock, when you take a setback, it knocks you for six, doesn't it? So when I'm talking about JJ Gale, he's never really found himself in that situation where he's had that consistency on top. So he's hit form. Many times we've seen him hit form. And we know that he's got the potential, but the Young Guns were a team that was spoken about of having that potential, and they've achieved that potential, and they've delivered consistently week in, week out, and they've done it on such a level. And I think when it started with them saying they're the best tag team in the world, I'm not sure if they believed it. But as we've grown closer and closer and closer, to this looming date against FTR, I think they've really believed it. And something like that is really going to knock your confidence. So I don't know where they go from here, but it's going to be interesting to watch because, again, I always say we can learn more about a man by the way he picks himself up after he's been knocked down than we can from someone's successes. So watch this space with the young guns, but I'm sure their immediate mindset is we need to get our championship belts back, the same as you saw with Michael Oak, who just said.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can feel the tension, you can feel the intensity. This is what happens when you compete at this level. So I'm not shocked by what happened with Michael Oak, who just said, by the way.
No.
This is what happens when you compete at the highest level.
And not just competing at the highest level, but again, not to hammer it home, but we are heading towards the biggest show in Revolution Pro Wrestling history. And that is making what's already a tense environment. It's a highly competitive locker room, but that is making things just up to, a factor of 11 here.
And you have to remember as well, we put everything into this, right? Heart, soul, blood, sweat, tears, hard work. We're working against adversity on a day-to-day basis, and this is something we've been working against for coming on 14 years now as we lead to the 14-year anniversary show. So when you care so much about something, when you deeply care about something, that's when the emotions come to the state they've been. And that's why we've seen those extremities with Conor Mills and Michael Oku, because I think we forget at the base of all of this was a friendship that we thought would be unbreakable. And we forget about that because of all the layers that have been added on top.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've forgotten about that as well. But that adds to the increased tension. But that's just an example, right? Everywhere you look, there's people who are sacrificing. Everywhere you look, there's people who are putting everything on the line. And there's people who feel they don't get a fair shake of the stick. And emotions are high. And it's funny, isn't it, what, something like Wembley can do in terms of heightening those emotions. We say it all the time when we approach certain shows, the tension just seems to be ramped up another level. And this is...
It felt like one of those today before we even got here.
It did. And I feel like, I think I probably called it when we announced the Wembley show that we'd be going on a wild ride. And that's exactly what's been happening.
It was a wild ride as well in the Undisputed British Women's Championship match. I said on commentary, I think I and many of us probably thought, despite being the challenger, that Dani Luna was the favourite to walk out a two-time champion against Alexis Falcon. Falcon, as she takes great glee in doing, has shut up her critics here tonight with a victory over Dani Luna. Alexis Falcon still the champion.
Yeah, I think you've got to write her off at your peril, really, don't you? She's one of these... she's durable, isn't she? She's one of these competitors who always finds a way. And she's at the top of the mountain right now, and it's going to take a lot to knock her off, isn't it? I don't think anyone would have predicted this year that Alexis Falcon has been having this fantastic year that Alexis Falcon has been having. And her mouth put her in a lot of positions where she was able to get opportunities, but she's been able to back it up, hasn't she?
Yeah.
And I'm impressed by her, and I'm impressed by the way she stood with Dani Luna. And again, against someone who, because we've said it before about how she's able to mentally unbalance her opponents and use that to her advantage. And it was very clear she wasn't going to be able to do that with Dani Luna. Mm-hmm. So she has to try and beat Dani Luna at her own game.
But that's why I think a lot of people thought that it would be game over for Alexis Falcon, because I think people thought her game was in some ways quite one-dimensional, in the sense that unless she can get into her opponent's head, then that was the extent of her game plan. But we were all wrong. It turns out that she was able to win anyway.
I think the key here is never underestimate someone. And I think the key here is to understand that anyone who gets to where we are at the level we are at, are operating at on a weekly basis, has to be at a level. It doesn't matter what masks they put on and whatever. They have to be at a level. And to get to championship level as well, we saw her go toe-to-toe with Mercedes Moné, and defeat Mercedes Moné. And to be on that level, you have to be special. And Alexis Falcon is special. Dani Luna is special as well. But, anyone who enters a Revolution Pro Wrestling ring, they got it in them, whether they know it or not. And I think tonight, Alexis Falcon she proved something to herself, you know, and I was very impressed with the way she did it.
Well, look, one person who I didn't think maybe had in him what he did in the end tonight was Leighton Buzzard, who became the new undisputed British Cruiserweight champion, but only by really underhanded tactics. It seemed as though he re-injured his knee that kept him out of action for over a year, not so long ago. Low blow of the referee's back turned on a man who's supposed to be his friend in Joe Lando, and Buzzard wins the championship. You've seen the version of Leighton Buzzard in RevPro that was quite underhanded before his injury and all that time ago. I hadn't seen that. And to my mind, everything that Leighton Buzzard had said about going about things the right way over the past 5 or 6 months, I just took as being correct, being true. Do you think this was premeditated by Leighton Buzzard? Was he always going to do this, or did he just see an opening in the moment and that part of his personality just couldn't stop it from coming out?
I genuinely don't know. And I think that's something that would need to speak to him about, because I think he's always had it in him, right? And I don't want to liken him to a dog, but, you know, there's some dangerous dogs, right? I mean, for right owners, they're lovely dogs, but, you know, sometimes that animal instinct kicks in, right? So I feel that Leighton Buzzard has always had it in him. Was it premeditated? That's another question. And I think that's probably the most intriguing and interesting question. Would you be able to get straight answers from him? I don't know. We have seen that instinct kick in from Leighton Buzzard before. Remember his rivalry with Will Caven, and we look back at that, and we look back at, you know, some of the ways he ended matches with Will Caven, or the definitive match he had.
But there were ways of explaining.
There was a justification behind it.
Because Caven had done that to him.
Because Caven had done that to him. But what I'm saying is he always had it in him. Right? And that's it. I'm not speculating. This has just happened before our eyes, right? So we have to kind of, again, we can try and unpack stuff, but I think the reality of the situation is one of us, probably you, needs to sit down with Leighton Buzzard and have a conversation. You know, like, you're closer with Leighton Buzzard than I am. Like, you know, you sat at the commentary desk with him for a deal of time, right? And
I always thought he was pretty straight down the middle.
But yeah, like you say, the Leighton Buzzard that I was introduced to was a very different character.
Yeah.
And I feel like I remember some of the wars between Slater Dojo and Michael Oku, and Michael Oku again. I don't know what's going on with Michael Oku, but Michael Oku, up until recently, I'd say is one of the most honourable men that I've ever met. And the way that Leighton Buzzard is able to push Michael Oku's buttons and some of the despicable things he'd do to Michael Oku, you know, you look at that and you're like, maybe he did plan it all.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a plan that was formulated that night he went into hospital. You know, they say the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world that he didn't exist. And Leighton Buzzard has, again, if this is premeditated, Leighton Buzzard has certainly done a great job of that over the last 18 months, hasn't he?
Well, we'll try and get some answers on Leighton Buzzard, because it is a really fascinating situation. I'm not sure if Joe Lando would use the word fascinating to describe the situation.
He's going to be heartbroken because he's been a fantastic champion for us.
And almost half a year that he held that championship, and a great standard bearer for the Cruiserweight division, just like Nino Bryant was before him. Speaking of standard bearers, big homecoming tonight for Callum Newman, the youngest ever IWGP heavyweight champion, back here in a RevPro ring, just a little over a month since he won that championship, and taking on 19-year-old Leon Cage. Big occasion for Leon Cage, and even in defeat, I felt like Leon rose to the occasion. What are your thoughts on that, man?
I agree with you, Dave. Like, we both watched the match. We both loved the match. And you feel like this is one of those contests that, you know, if the wrestling gods are looking down on us, we're going to see this match multiple times in many years to come. Right? And I feel like both have the potential. Well, look, Callum Newman is someone who was always had the potential. I feel like it's very clear, we've seen recently, that Callum Newman has fulfilled that potential. I knew Callum Newman was destined for great things when he was playing his trade with us at Revolution Pro Wrestling. I was talking to you on the commentary about, you know, the fact that there was actually a Callum Newman and Will Ospreay match which happened in the COVID era in an empty arena. And it was the first time I'd seen anyone match Will Ospreay for speed. Now, you pointed out when you said that, at that time, Callum Newman was 17 years old. And that's how good he was then, right? And he was a puppy with big paws, right? But now he's grown into those paws, hasn't he? And I feel like it's great to see. And it's great to see the way Callum carries himself. It's like Callum's made no secret of the facts. You know, I knew he had the potential. And I said to him like this, when you go to Japan, this is like sink or swim for you, right? And he was just like,
he swam,
gonna swim, right? And he fulfilled that potential. So many times you see people fall in when they hit those difficult patches, those hurdles, but not Callum Newman. And I'm just so glad he's been able to become the man that we all knew that he had the potential to become. The talent was never in question. So it's great to see that. And then you see Leon Cage, and you see when they did that exchange at the start, and you saw the speed of Leon Cage. All of a sudden, you're looking at Leon Cage, and you're like, it reminds me of that time when Callum Newman first matched up with Will Ospreay, right?
It reminded Callum Newman of that. You could see Newman after that third exchange was like, okay,
right. And I guess Callum Newman's for so long, there's not been anyone who can keep up with him in terms of speed, and then finally comes back to the UK while he's been away. This young phenom has emerged and can match him for speed. So just fantastic match. Great learning experience for Leon Cage. And the one thing I will say, and I think I alluded to it on commentary, I don't know if I alluded to it well enough, but one thing I will say about this goes to across the whole of the Revolution Pro Wrestling roster, and it goes as a testament to the depth and talent we have. But Callum Newman is a next generation of wrestler. Right. And he was fortunate enough to be able to learn from the generations that came before, including people like your Will Ospreays, right? Like your Zack Sabre Juniors. So he's like that next generation. And now, because he's been able to work with the best wrestlers in the world in their prime, Callum Newman, at such a tender young age, has now put himself in that category with those guys. But those guys are still operating. Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Juniors, they're still operating, right? So our guys that are coming through now, not only are they able to get that advice from Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Juniors, they're able to also get that advice from those Callum Newmans now. And these in-ring experiences that Leon Cage is having right now will be invaluable to him when it comes to his future career and future prospects, especially when you approach stuff with the attitude and mentality that Leon Cage has. Every day is like a school trip to Leon. He's always got a big smile on his face. And that's what excites me the most. And it's no coincidence. I genuinely believe, look, today we had a Rumble. There's 30 men in the Rumble today. 28 men and 2 women in the Rumble today. The talent was so strong. But there weren't outside guests in the Rumble. They were all roster members. We had a list of people who could have also been in that Rumble. There are people on the cards who could have also been in that Rumble. That's because we've got such a depth of talent right now. And I don't, it sounds like I'm saying this because I'm a promoter, right? But, and I guess in some ways I am saying this because I'm a promoter, but I genuinely mean it when I say that we are blessed to have such a wealth of talent. And it's nights like this that put that into perspective and show you just how deep the talent pool is. And there's so many people, like after the show, I met some young trainees who come down with Flash Morgan Webster from his school. You know, you see those, you see people from our London School of Wrestling. When we go to Cardiff and we see people from Brendan White's New Wave Wrestling and you know, the Portsmouth School of Wrestling, London School of Wrestling, you know, there's so much young talent coming through and being able to get the experiences that other people weren't fortunate enough to get before them, who reached a level, but now the bar's getting raised higher and higher and higher. And this is why it's such an exciting time.
The exciting times keep on coming, because this coming weekend, just 7 days from now as we're filming, May 24th, we are in Morecambe for the Bash at the Bay. We've already talked a little bit about that in the past couple of weeks, but it's going to be a very unique show. Obviously, we're going to be on the pitch at Morecambe FC. Going to be great. What more can you tell us?
So I'm very excited. I'm excited for our northern excursion to be over, because
3 weeks in a row it's going to be.
Drives, and then we've got Coventry the week after, and I consider that up as well.
Yeah, that's the north.
Yeah, well, you have to drive to on the road, which literally says the north.
The north,
right?
Yeah,
so Coventry is the north.
Although, as you've said before, you're in Portsmouth, so everything's.
But it's just a long way every week. But yeah, so that northern excursion continues. Bash at the Bay. I'm very excited because it's unknown, and we love the unknown, right? We love the experiences they create. But next week's show, we very much want to create a fun show for the local community, but also to have a show which is very Revolution Pro Wrestling. We wanted to resonate with the people. We want to introduce people to Revolution Pro Wrestling in an exciting and fun way, and introduce them to some of the characters and the best wrestlers in the world, and let them know they reside in the United Kingdom. Morecambe's got a very proud heritage when it comes to professional wrestling, and we look to add to that as well. I'm very happy to be working with Odyssey Pro Wrestling as well. We're a local Morecambe-based company, because that's a philosophy that we have everywhere we go, and we want to work with other people. We want to help grow things. So very, very excited. As you say, the ring's going to be on the pitch. We hope it's going to be sunny. It's a bank holiday Sunday, and the whole emphasis of the event is going to be a feel-good event. It's going to be a pro wrestling at its best, as we come together with Morecambe Football Club. Look, I know the Morecambe Football Club, they're going through a tough time. They've been through a tough time. They continue to go through a tough time. But they're resilient. They're underdogs, much like us, and that's why it's it's so exciting. And this is just, like I said, going to be different, going to be fun, and I hope it brings the community together. And I hope that we just have we come out of it with a big smile on our faces. That's kind of the goal.
Well, look, we'll leave it there. There's much more we could talk about. Obviously, we've been talking over the past couple of weeks about all the big events we've got coming up between now and probably at the end of August. So we're going to leave it there. Obviously, you've got a lot to think about, particularly after the interruption we had here just a few minutes ago. So plenty to think about on the long drive back down south. We'll see you again at Morecambe FC. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you there as well, hopefully Bash at the Bay this coming Sunday. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for our wrap up here after the Revolution Rumble.